Hey everyone! Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. It really helps YouTube recommend more stories like this one to you. Alright, let's jump right in. The minute I pushed open the door to room 208, it felt wrong, cold in a way the thermostat couldn't explain. The latch clicked behind me and I turned to look back at the hallway. Silence, the buzzing fluorescent light in the corridor flickering like it was tired of staying on. I didn't want to stay, but I had to, because I'd already paid, already driven 4 hours, already told myself I'd rest before tomorrow's drive. So I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Stale carpet, cheap air conditioning, and something faintly sour I couldn't place. My suitcase hit the floor with a soft thud. I heard it echo slightly, like the room was emptier than it looked. I glanced around. A queen bed, white sheets turned down, a nightstand with a phone, a lamp with a weak bulb, a small TV mounted high on the wall. The wallpaper had a faint pattern of vines or branches. Looked faded. One window covered with heavy blackout curtains. Everything looked normal, but I had the sense of being watched. I shook it off and walked to the window anyway. I pulled the curtains just a crack. Outside was the motel parking lot. A few cars, one van, the sign glowing vacancy in red. I could see the asphalt cracks, the shadows of the streetlight poles. I closed the curtain, the room plunged into half dark again. The lamp buzzed faintly. I dropped my bag, flicked on the TV, hoping for white noise, something mundane to steady me. The screen pulled itself together. Static channel guide flickered. I chose something dumb. A stand-up special I watch every time I'm on the road. I sat on the edge of the bed and exhaled, tried to relax. But my gut kept twisting. I got out the water bottle from the minibar. Yes, the minibar was empty except for an overpriced bottle of water. I lifted it, the plastic cap cracked. The air felt too still, as if the room was holding its breath. I took a sip. The cold water clinked in the glass. The TV's laugh track popped. I laughed a little. Forced. I told myself I'd been on the road too long, I was tired, the motel was old. Nothing more. I checked my phone. 56% battery. No signal problems. I texted my friend to say I'd arrived. He replied quickly, "Good, sleep well." I put the phone down. My eyes wandered to the door, the small peephole, the metal bolt, the handle. I flicked the latch once, felt its weight. I heard it then, a soft click. Like the bolt sliding, I froze. The room was dark except for the lamp and TV. The sound came from the door. I looked directly at it. My heart punched. The bolt seemed to move. I crawled forward on the bed until I could see the door clearly. The handle wiggled. I held my breath. The noise repeated, click. My hand reached out to the bolt and slid it back into place, click. I sat back, my pulse racing. Probably just old and loose, and I told myself. No one's there. I glanced at the window. The curtains were still closed. The lamp didn't flicker, but sweat cooled along my spine. I stared at the TV, but the comedians were suspended mid-joke. It froze. The laughter track cut off. The screen went black for a second, then switched channels by itself. I jumped up, remote in hand, pressed the power off. The screen went blank. The silence in the room now felt heavy, like someone exhaled behind me. I spun around. Nothing. The suitcase still on the floor, the nightstand lamp still humming faintly. I told myself I needed to call the front desk. I dialed from the room phone. The line clicked. Someone answered, "Front desk, how may I help you?" The voice was normal, polite. I asked about the bolt, if someone had maintenance scheduled. She said nothing. Then, "Sir, your room is secure." Click. The line disconnected. Normal, clean, no admission of problem. But I felt unclean. I looked at the door again. Decided to inspect. I sat at the edge of the bed, unfolded myself, and placed both feet on the floor. I looked at the bolt, the door frame. The paint was chipped. I slid my fingers along the edge of the door. The metal felt cool, but around the peephole the wood was warm, like someone had been pressing their face there recently. I looked again, the peephole lens slightly fogged. I wiped with my t-shirt sleeve. It cleared. Good as new. But still, I had that feeling. I tried to get comfortable. I pulled the comforter toward me, tucked my feet under. I set the television back to a movie. The opening credits scrolled. I tilted the volume low. I closed my eyes for a moment. The hum of the air conditioner, the tick of the TV, the muffled sound of a car door outside. I exhaled, shook myself. Then I heard something again, muffled scratching. It was behind the wall. Maybe the pipe? Could be. I listened. Scritch, scritch, I sat up. It sounded like claws. No fingers, someone's fingers. On the other side of the wall. I pressed my ear to the wall. It stopped. My room only had one window. The parking lot. Maybe the neighboring room? I decided probably nothing, but I couldn't stay like this. I needed sleep. I set the remote aside. I tried to relax. I watched the movie. My eyelids got heavy. I glanced at the clock, 1:12 a.m. Too late to call the front desk again. I tried to reason, I'm safe. And yet the phone line was separate from the internet. The door solid. The camera outside? Who knows? But still, the bolt had moved. Half asleep, I felt a breath against my neck, or thought I did. I sat upright. My hair prickled. I wheeled the chair toward me, looked behind. No one. Only the lamp's glow. The window curtains shaken slightly. I got up, went to the window, pulled the curtain aside. Outside the parking lot looked unchanged. The van still by the light pole. A figure in the window of the office? No, the light inside was off. I closed the curtain. When I looked back, I saw it. Imprint on the comforter. On the other side of the bed, an impression like someone had sat there. The sheets indented. My pulse thudded. I froze. I hadn't moved. I hadn't gotten up. The sheet looked freshly pressed before. Now a mark. I swallowed hard. I went to the nightstand, picked up the phone. I dialed front desk again. "There's someone in my room," I said, voice low. The line went dead before I heard a response. I stared at the handset. Then I heard a door handle outside the room. Turn click. Then nothing. The bolt was unlocked. I slid toward the door and grabbed the bolt again. Clicked it into place. The door shook, just slightly, as though someone had pushed. My hands trembled. I backed away and sat on the bed, hugging my knees. I tried to think, what if someone snuck in earlier? The bolt had moved. The peephole warm, the sheets disturbed. The door rattled. No one in view. I reached into my suitcase for a flashlight I'd packed. Clicked it on. A beam across the room. Nothing. Under the bed, behind the curtains, in the closet. I didn't sleep. At dawn I heard a knock. Soft at first, then more urgent. I didn't answer. A voice through the door. "Sir?" "Housekeeping." I didn't move, no plan. The voice continued. "Sir, please." "Clean up?" I didn't respond. I saw the bolt unlocked again. My breath caught. The door pushed. I leapt up and flicked the flashlight. The door flew open. The housekeeper stood there, hello face, eyes sorry. I stared. She looked past me into the room. Then back to me. "I'm sorry, sir," she said quietly. "We cleaned this room earlier because someone left the lights on all night. But we locked it afterwards." Her words didn't make sense. "Someone left," I croaked. She said yes, and the guest never returned. "We tried to check, but..." She shrugged. "We cleaned it. It's ready." She waited. My suitcase was open. I sat, my heart in my throat. She stepped in. I asked, "When did you lock the door?" She said, "Just after midnight. Someone didn't check out." My mouth dry. I thought of my bolt moving after midnight. I thought of the peephole warm. I thought of the sheets. Something inside me flipped. I might not be alone. I might not have been alone for hours. I asked, "Who? What happened to the guest?" She shook her head. "I don't know, sir. We assumed they left. The entry didn't show them checking out. We locked it. We cleaned." She glanced around. Her eyes flicked to the notion that someone else was still there. I asked, "Has anyone else reported things?" She gave a small nod. "Yes, the previous occupant." They said footsteps. Late at night. We moved them to another room. She turned to leave. I thanked her weakly. She closed the door. I locked the bolt again. I slid to the floor. The light of the lamp buzzing. The TV off. The window blind pulled down. The room still. But it didn't feel safe. I lay down eventually, flashlight by my side, ear pressed to the wall near the bed. I heard nothing for an hour, then faint dragging, and stop. I exhaled, my eyes wide open. I waited, then click. A floorboard outside the door creaked. The knob wiggled. I snapped up, pointed the flashlight at the door. Nothing, handle still. I leaned back. My mind racing, I stayed until sunrise. I packed, I checked out. Front desk. Everything fine, sir? I said yes, I left. I drove off. But the images stayed. The imprint on the bed, the peephole warmth, the cleaning cart outside. The feeling of someone watching through door cracks, hearing breathing in the closet. Maybe footsteps outside the wall. Later that night, I called the motel chain. I asked about room 208. They said that room is currently out of service. I told them what I experienced. They said they had no record of a guest checking out from that room a week ago. They said, "Sir, we'll look into it." I hung up. But the words echoed, no record of guests checking out. My blood ran cold. Even now I wake at night. I smell that sour scent. I hear the soft click of a bolt. I feel someone shift on the bed next to me. I walk into hotel lobbies and glance at doors with peepholes. I imagine what could have been in room 208 and for how long. I wonder if the previous occupants stayed or if someone else stayed after them. And I remember. The motel looked exactly the same. Low roof, peeling paint, sad little ice machine humming outside the office. The same van was still parked under the dead streetlight. That's what really messed me up. Same rust along the bumper, same cracked window on the passenger side. That van had been there 2 weeks ago. Nobody stays in a motel that long. Nobody should. I walked into the front office, heart pounding. A new guy was working the desk. Mid-40s, heavy-set, polite enough. "Can I help you?" he asked, glancing up from his newspaper. No computer. Just a logbook and a corded phone. The room felt like it hadn't been dusted in a year. "Yeah," I said. "Just one night." He slid the guest book toward me. "All we got left is upstairs." "Room 209, I paused. "Not 208. He shook his head. 208's closed. Maintenance issue, still. He glanced at me like that was an odd thing to ask. "What do you mean still?" I lied. "I think I stayed here a couple weeks ago. Room 208, something weird happened. Thought maybe it'd be fixed by now." The guy squinted at me. "We haven't rented that room in 3 months, I froze. My signature from 2 weeks ago. The night I felt someone sit on the bed beside me. The night I called the front desk and no one believed me. The night I didn't sleep a second, I said nothing. Just nodded like it made sense. He handed me the key to 209. The room above. Room 209 smelled like cigarettes and lemon cleaner. I dropped my bag, turned on the AC, opened the curtains just enough to peek down at 208. It was dark. No cars parked in front of it. No light leaking from under the door, but I couldn't stop looking. Watching. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every tiny creak in the ceiling, every gust of wind against the wall felt like it came from under me. Like room 208 was alive and breathing. I paced, I stared out the window. I even leaned out into the hallway to listen, and that's when I saw it, the van. Its headlights flicked on, just for a second, then off again. No engine, no sound, just 2 blinding circles of light. Then nothing. I went down, don't ask me why. My legs just moved. Down the concrete steps, past the ice machine, past the office window. The air was damp and sticky. My hand trembled as I touched the knob to room 208. It turned, I wasn't expecting that. The door creaked open slowly, darkness yawning wide like a mouth. No lights, no sounds. The bed was made. The lamp unplugged. The air felt colder than it should have been, and the smell, it was worse this time. Stronger. Like something wet had been sitting in the walls for a long time. I took a step in, then another, my flashlight in one hand, my phone in the other. Something moved near the bathroom. I froze. The curtain in the tub rustled like it had caught a breeze, but there was no window open. I lifted the flashlight, aimed it toward the tub. The curtain was still now closed. I should have walked out. Closed the door. Called someone. But I kept walking. My hand reached for the curtain. My fingers touched the edge of the fabric and rough plastic. I held my breath, and then nothing. Empty tub. Clean, dry. But the mirror behind me, the one above the sink, was fogged. I hadn't showered. No hot water had been running. I turned slowly, my reflection warped in the glass. But for a second I thought I saw 2 shapes, one behind me. But when I spun around, the room was empty. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the room until 4:17 a.m., just watching, listening. The flashlight died around 2 run. My phone battery sank to 12%. The TV wouldn't turn on. The outlet wouldn't take a charge. Everything felt like it was being drained on not just power, but sound, color, time. At 4:17 a.m., I heard the knock, 3 soft knocks, then a whisper. "Let me in." I was already inside. The voice was coming from under the bed. I didn't look. I couldn't. I grabbed my bag, stumbled out into the hallway, heart racing. The hallway was empty. No one at the front desk. Just the same flickering light overhead I didn't check out. I drove for hours, until the sky turned orange and the trees stopped looking like hands. I promised myself, never again. 2 months passed. I didn't talk about it. I didn't even Google the motel. Then one night I saw a post on Reddit. "What's the creepiest motel you've ever stayed in?" One comment, way down, caught my eye. "Room 208. Highway 44, just outside Brownsville. Don't open the mirror." My chest tightened. The mirror? I clicked the account. It was deleted, but the comment stayed. I reached out to a friend of mine, former cop, now private investigator. Told him everything. He looked into it. A few days later he called. "Dude," he said, "that room has history." What do you mean?" "Back in 2007, a guy went missing. Checked into room 208. Never checked out. The staff figured he left in the night. But a year later, another guest reported seeing him, pale, staring from behind the bathroom curtain. Did they ever find a body? I asked. No, but 2 years later, another guest disappeared. Same room. He paused. "You know what's crazy?" "What?" "There are no official police records about the disappearances. Only local forums, rumors, whispers. It's like someone scrubbed it." I didn't know what to say. Then he added, "There's one more thing. I found an old TripAdvisor review. 1 star. Guy said, stayed in room 208. Woke up to see myself sleeping in the mirror. I've moved since then. New city, bigger apartment. I keep the curtains open at night because I'm scared of what's on the inside, not the outside. I don't stay in motels. I check the bathroom first thing whenever I go anywhere new. But lately, I've been hearing knocks. 3 soft knocks in my bedroom. Last night, my mirror was fogged when I woke up, and I hadn't used the shower. I don't know if something followed me, or if maybe... There's another room 208. Every motel has one, and maybe it's not the room that's haunted. Maybe it's the reflection. The first time we saw the sign, it was around 10:30 at night somewhere along Route 87. Bright red neon buzzing through the fog. Vacancy. My girlfriend Jess pointed it out. That looks sketchy as hell, we laughed. Kept driving. We were 2 days into a cross-country trip. Car packed, snacks everywhere, backseat messy with clothes. We'd been planning this for months. No real route, just the road, each other, and cheap motels along the way. We'd already stayed in 2 crummy ones. Nothing major, but that night we were tired. No hotels for miles. The GPS showed a pin labeled Willow Pines Inn. No website, no reviews. Just a dot in the middle of nowhere. 10 minutes later, we saw the same red sign again. Vacancy. Jess frowned. Did we just loop? No, I said. Different spot, different building, but it looked the same shape, same color of paint, same dead tree leaning over the parking lot. Déjà vu, I said. Nervous laugh. Weird, we pulled in. There were 2 other cars in the lot, both dusty. One had a flat tire. Inside, the woman at the front desk smiled too wide. Her name tag said Marcy, but it was peeling and smudged. Her hands didn't stop moving, ringing, tapping, adjusting a pen that didn't need adjusting. You folks just passing through? She asked, her eyes flicking to Jess, then to me. Then back again. Yeah, I said. Long day. She handed us a key card. Room 6, straight down on the left, no forms. No payment. We looked at each other, confused, but Jess was too tired to care. The room was basic. A queen bed. Pale yellow sheets, stale-smelling carpet, a mirror across from the bed slightly cracked in one corner, a single window with a thin curtain. The TV was one of those old CRTs. There was a static hum even when it was off. I took a shower while Jess tried to get the AC to work. When I came out, she was standing by the window staring out. You okay? I asked. She nodded. Something feels off. Then she asked, how long were we on the road today? I thought, 5 hours? No, she said. I checked the car when we pulled in. The odometer hasn't changed since yesterday. I told her it was probably a glitch. We were both tired. Needed sleep, we tried. But around 3:00 a.m. I woke up to the sound of voices. Faint, like they were behind the wall. Just whispers. Unclear words. Then the light from the hallway flicked on under the door. I got up, peeked out through the peephole. Empty, just the front desk woman, Marcy, standing in the hallway, staring straight at our door. She didn't knock, didn't move, just stood there. I backed away, told Jess. She wanted to leave right then. I agreed. We grabbed our bags, slipped out through the side exit. Didn't even close the door all the way. Just ran to the car. The parking lot was dark except for the red vacancy sign. We got in, turned the key. The engine wouldn't start. Jess swore. Tried again. Nothing. We looked around. All the windows in the rooms were dark, except one, ours. The curtain slowly closed. Eventually the engine turned over. We peeled out of the lot, gravel kicking behind us. I didn't look back. We drove for 20 minutes in silence, then Jess screamed, "No, stop, stop." There it was again, the same damn sign. Vacancy, same tree. Same lot, same cars, same flat tire. We'd driven in a straight line. No turns, no exits, we're in a loop, Jess whispered. We never left, we didn't stop that time. We drove right past 30 minutes. An hour, no music, no talking. Then it appeared again. Vacancy, same motel. I started laughing. Couldn't help it. That awful kind of laugh where you're afraid you're about to lose your mind. Jess was crying. We have to go back, she said. There's something we missed. I said no. She screamed at me. So we turned around. The motel was darker now. No lights in any rooms. The vacancy sign flickered like it was struggling to stay on. The front office door was wide open. Inside, the desk was empty. No Marcy, no guest book, nothing, just a mirror, big, like a floor-length one, standing right where the desk used to be. Jess walked up to it. I told her not to. She said, "That's not a reflection." And she was right. The mirror showed us, but not how we looked. It showed us standing still. Eyes wide, pale, not blinking, not breathing. Like we'd been frozen there for hours, and then the reflection smiled. But we didn't. We ran. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember getting in the car. All I remember is waking up the next morning at a rest stop an hour away. The sun already up. Jess was asleep in the passenger seat. The clock on the dashboard read 7:13 a.m. The odometer showed the same number. It had the night before. We tried to pretend it didn't happen. Kept driving. Found a real hotel that night lights, people, coffee in the lobby. We didn't talk about it. But 3 days later, we passed another small town. Late at night, and I saw it again. Vacancy. Same sign, same shape, different name. I kept driving, but in the rearview mirror, I could have sworn I saw someone watching us from room 6. After the third time we saw the motel, Jess made me promise we'd never stop again. No matter how tired we were, no matter how late it got, no matter how bright that vacancy sign burned. I promised, and for the next few nights, things were okay. We booked hotels online in advance, places with real people, fluorescent lights, Wi-Fi, phone chargers. We forced ourselves to believe the Willow Pines Motel was just some bizarre shared hallucination. Like the road played tricks on us, but that promise got harder to keep because the further west we drove, the more we started noticing. Things, the signs. They were showing up in other towns, not just along highways now, not just in the woods, but in places we should have felt safe. Small city outskirts, truck stops, even once behind a gas station. Same glowing red, same font. Always vacancy. Jess stopped sleeping altogether. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to find her just sitting in bed, phone clutched in both hands, staring at the door. She said she kept hearing knocking, but not on the door. On the window, I'd check every time. Nothing there. Until one night in Arizona, I checked and saw handprints on the inside. I started hearing static. Not on the TV, not on the radio, but in my ears, at random moments. Like something brushing against my brain. A low crackling buzz that faded in and out, like a voice trying to form but never quite saying anything. It happened once while I was filling the car up with gas. I blinked, and across the street I swear I saw the same motel again, just wedged between two normal buildings like it didn't belong there. And worse, I saw someone standing in front of room 6. Same figure as before, a silhouette, unmoving. Watching me. I looked away. When I looked back, it was gone. A week later, Jess went quiet, stopped talking, stopped eating. She just kept writing in her journal. Over and over, I finally took it from her one night just to see. The pages were full of the same thing. Don't check in. Don't check in. Don't check in. Hundreds of times. I begged her to let me take her to a hospital. She said, "If we walk into another motel, we'll never come out." Then she whispered something I still hear in my dreams. They remember us now. The next day, I woke up alone. Jess was gone, our stuff was still there, but the car was missing. I called the front desk. No one answered. I ran outside. Looked everywhere. Finally, I saw it. Half a mile down the road, tucked into a curve of trees. The sign dot, vacancy. Same damn motel. And Jess's car was in the lot. I didn't think. I ran, heart punching through my chest, sweat in my eyes. Screaming her name, I burst into the lot. The office door was open, no one inside. Room 6's door was cracked open just slightly. I went in. It was empty. No bed, no mirror, just walls, completely bare, and Jess's journal lying open on the floor. I picked it up. This time only one sentence, scrawled across both pages. I had to go back. I left something behind. I searched for hours, days, filed a missing persons report. Cops said she probably ran, staged it. They didn't believe a word I said about the motel. They didn't see what I saw. No one does. They didn't understand the loops, the red lights, the way that motel moves, like it's not part of the world we live in, like it's hunting. That was 6 months ago. I've tried to move on. New apartment, new job, but 2 nights ago I got an email. No subject line, no message body, just a photo of a motel room mirror, cracked in the top corner, and in the reflection, me lying in bed, eyes open, smiling. The mirror in my motel room wasn't a regular mirror. That's not a sentence I ever imagined saying out loud, but it's the only way I can start, because this isn't about ghosts or jump scares. It's about something deeper. That moment when reality just fractures, quietly, permanently. And for me, that fracture started in room 9. I was driving home from my dad's funeral, 8 hours on the road, alone, somewhere in the middle of rural Montana. Cell signal was trash, radio kept cutting out, and emotionally, I was wrecked. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to feel. I just wanted a bed, a shower, and a few hours to forget. That's how I ended up at a little roadside place called the Echo Pines Motel. It looked clean enough. 1 story, 15 rooms give or take. The guy at the front desk gave me a key card without asking for ID or payment. Room 9, he said. End of the row. Didn't smile. Didn't blink much either. Whatever, I didn't care. I just needed sleep. Room 9 was normal at first glance, clean sheets, old carpet. A queen bed, beige everything but the mirror. It covered half the wall opposite the bed. One of those wide, full wall types, like something out of a cheap dance studio. Cold to the touch. No frame. I remember thinking it was weirdly clean. Not a single fingerprint or smudge. Just smooth silver reflecting everything too perfectly. I unpacked a little, kicked off my shoes, cracked a soda from my bag. I tried watching TV, but all the channels were news or static. I turned it off and just lay there staring at the ceiling. That's when I noticed it. In the reflection, the TV was still on. I sat up, turned my head. Nope. TV was off. Black screen. But in the mirror, it was playing a commercial. I could see it. A bright flash of colors. Some woman selling shampoo or something. I blinked. Looked back at the TV, still off. Looked at the mirror again. The TV in the reflection was definitely on. I thought, maybe it's a glitch? A weird lighting thing? I got up, walked over to the mirror, and waved my hand in front of it. Reflection waved back, perfectly timed, but the TV behind me in the mirror was still playing a show that didn't exist. Then something else caught my eye, my reflection. Blinked, but I didn't. I stepped back. Cold rushed into my chest. That sharp, sudden kind, like you've just remembered something awful at the wrong time. I stood there, watching, trying to catch it doing something else, but now, It just copied me perfectly, like it was trying to cover its mistake. I grabbed the remote and pointed it at the real TV. Turned it back on. News channel. Low volume. I watched as the woman on screen talked about flooding on the West Coast. Then I turned to the mirror. The reflection showed something else entirely. A grainy security camera feed, black and white, showing a hallway, someone standing at the end, not moving, not facing the camera. I turned the volume up. No change. I pressed every button on the remote. Volume, channel, input. Nothing affected what the mirror was showing. Then the reflection changed. To the room I was in, except it was empty. No bed. No me, just the walls, the mirror, and the TV playing something I couldn't identify. A loop of me walking into the room earlier that night. I don't remember backing away. I just remember finding myself outside. Standing barefoot in the parking lot, breathing too fast. Stars overhead, gravel underfoot. I stayed out there for a while, just staring at the building. Room 9's light was still on. Nothing moved inside. Eventually, I talked myself back into going in. I told myself I was just grieving, tired, seeing things. I opened the door. Everything was normal. TV. Off. Mirror. Normal. My reflection stared back, but it didn't look tired anymore. I woke up at 2:17 a.m. to whispering. I know how that sounds. But I wasn't dreaming. The sound was real. Wet, breathy whispers like someone speaking underwater. It was coming from the mirror. I sat up in bed. The glass looked fogged. Like someone had just taken a hot shower, even though I hadn't. I got up slowly, stepped closer, and the whispering stopped. I stared into the mirror. This time, my reflection didn't move. I tilted my head. It stayed still. Didn't blink. Didn't copy. Just stared at me. Expressionless. Then it smiled. I stumbled back, knocking over the chair. The sound of it hitting the floor snapped the reflection back to normal. It moved again. Synced up with me. But the smile was still there, even though my mouth was shut tight. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in the corner of the room with my phone light pointed at the mirror. Filmed it, over and over. Different angles, every recording looked normal. Nothing weird, but I swear to you, when in real time that thing was thinking, watching, choosing when to mimic me and when not to. I kept asking, why me? Why now? No answers came, but something in me knew the mirror wasn't a surface, it was a window. At 5:42 a.m. I grabbed my keys and left. Didn't check out. Didn't even grab my charger, I just drove. Didn't stop for coffee. Didn't turn on music. Just silence and road and headlights cutting through fog. For a while it worked. I felt distance like I'd outrun it, until I stopped at a gas station, went to the restroom, washed my hands, looked up at the mirror above the sink and saw room 9 behind me. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, every mirror shows me something different. Not always scary. Sometimes it's just me, dressed differently. A different hairstyle, a shadow passing behind me that isn't really there. Other times, it's worse. My reflection will watch me walk away, or smile after I've turned around. Once, it even wrote something in the fog, words I didn't write. We're almost through. I've covered all the mirrors in my apartment, avoided anything reflective. I even brush my teeth in the dark now, but I still feel them watching like they're waiting for something. I don't know what happens when they finally get through, but I think I'm going to find out. The weirdest part wasn't the smell, or the noises, or even what I saw in room 12 that night. The weirdest part was that no one cared. No one even asked. Not the manager, not the cops, not the woman in 12B whose screams I still hear when I close my eyes. They just told me to clock out, go home and forget it. But I can't, because I think I saw something I wasn't supposed to. Something beneath this place, something pretending to be normal. I worked night shifts at a cheap roadside motel just off I-77. You know the type. Red doors, flickering ice machine, dusty lobby that smells like burnt coffee and wet carpet. I was 23, I needed the money. It was quiet most nights, which was the point. The motel had one rule. Don't disturb any guest who has the sign out. No matter what. The first night I didn't think twice about it. Every hotel has that policy, right? Do not disturb means stay out. Simple. But this place, it was different. That rule wasn't for privacy. It was for containment. I didn't know that until my fourth night on the job. It was a Tuesday. Slow traffic. 3 check-ins total. I was behind the front desk, eating reheated pizza and flipping through an old Stephen King paperback. Security cameras looped silently in the corner. I wasn't really watching. Room 12 had the sign out. It had been out since the night before. That wasn't too strange. Some guests hung those things and forgot. But around midnight, I started hearing something on the feed. Faint at first. A low scratching. I muted the TV. It was coming from the wall behind me. The hallway side of room 12 scratch. Scratch and then a knock. 3 soft knocks. I checked the logbook. Room 12 was paid for a week in advance. Guest name Ms. Durnell, no first name. No photo ID on file. Just a cash payment and a little note in the system from my manager. Do not remove sign from this room. Under any circumstance, I leaned into the camera feed. Room 12's hallway was empty. I waited a few seconds. Then the phone rang. Old school. Beige rotary one behind the desk. Barely ever used, I picked it up. Dead silence then, a faint voice. Scratchy, like the line was stretched thin. Please, I need help. My stomach dropped. Ma'am? I said nothing. Then, just before the line went dead, I heard something I still can't get out of my head. Don't let him in. I stood there, frozen, phone still to my ear. Dial tone humming, I checked the camera again, still empty. But the hallway light above room 12 started flickering. And then, the do not disturb sign was gone. It had been there 10 minutes ago. I replayed the footage. No one touched it. No one walked by. One frame it was there. Next frame, gone. I radioed the on-call security guy, Jerome. He was on smoke break 2 buildings over. Hey, I said. Can you check room 12? Guest called. Something's off, a pause. Then, we're not supposed to touch that room. I know, but Jerome cut me off. If the sign's gone, it means they checked out. No, I said. She called. Something's wrong. Another pause. Then static. Then, you sure it was her? He never came inside. Said he'd watch from outside and text if anything looked weird. Coward. So I went myself. I grabbed the master key card and started down the hallway. The motel was dead silent. Even the ice machine wasn't humming. The carpet squished faintly under my shoes. Damp from a leak, probably. The lights overhead flickered in sync. One long hallway. Red doors peeling numbers. I stopped in front of room 12. The sign really was gone. I knocked once. Lightly. Ms. Durnell? No answer. I leaned closer. I could hear it now, whispering. Fast. Like someone talking to themselves or praying. Repeating something under there. Breath. And underneath that, a low groan. Like something straining. I tried the handle. Locked. Slid the master key. The lock. Clicked. I opened the door 2 inches. Just enough to see inside. The room was dark, not dim, pitch black. Like light couldn't survive in there, it hit me in the chest. That heavy, cold pressure, like stepping into a freezer full of dead air. The whispering stopped the moment the door cracked. I reached in, hand shaking, and flipped the light switch. Nothing. I pushed the door open another inch. Still couldn't see the bed. Ma'am? I called. My voice sounded swallowed. Like the air was thicker inside. Something smelled wrong. Sour, metallic, wet. I took 1 step in. Carpet squished. Another step. I could barely make out shapes now. The corner of a dresser. The edge of the TV. And then I heard the door slam shut behind me. I turned fast. The handle was gone. I swear to God, the door had no handle from the inside, just a blank slab of wood. I pounded on it. Hello?
Jerome?
No answer. I pulled out my phone. No signal. I turned on the flashlight. The room was empty. No bed. No nightstand. Just a chair in the center of the room, facing the wall. And in the chair, a person. She was completely still. Thin, slouched, wearing a long gray nightgown. Her hair hung in front of her face and her hands were tied behind the chair with duct tape. I stepped closer. My flashlight flickered. Ma'am? She didn't move. I got close enough to see her chest rise and fall, barely breathing, but breathing. I reached to touch her shoulder. She flinched and then whispered, "He's still in here." My whole body locked. I scanned the room again. Nothing. No one. Then I saw it. In the far corner. A man-shaped shadow. Just standing, facing the wall. Tall, thin, barefoot, no, face, like someone sketched him in with charcoal. My flashlight landed on him and he didn't move, not even a twitch. But the woman in the chair started shaking violently, whispering something over and over. He watches in the dark. He waits in the noise. He wears their faces. I turned back to her. "What do I do?" I begged. She just said one thing. "Turn off your light." I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. But something in her voice, so sure, so final, made me do it. I turned off the flashlight. Instant blackness. I couldn't see my own hand. Couldn't hear her anymore. But I could feel him. Closer. Breathing. Maybe, or mimicking breathing. I stood still and then I heard it. "You opened the door, I don't remember. Leaving the room, I just remember falling. Through the hallway. The lights flickered back on. The front desk. Phone was ringing again. I picked up. Dead. Silence. Then, you left her. Room. 12 was gone, I mean that literally. The next day, when the morning staff came in, no red door, no room between 11 and 13. The hallway was shorter. Smooth wall. No gap. I checked the floor plans. They showed 14 rooms, but the motel only had 13. I asked my manager. He said, "You must have miscounted." I showed him the camera footage. It glitched out that whole hour. Jerome quit that night. Didn't even pick up his last check. And me? I stayed for 3 more weeks. Why? Because I started seeing guests check in who didn't exist. Room 8 had no guest, but the bed kept being unmade every night. Room 5 had a man check in. Never left the room. Never used the shower. Never touched the sheets. Just sat in the chair, staring at the wall. Every night. Then, one morning room 5 vanished too. I left after that, moved 2 states away. No hotel jobs. No night shifts. But I still check behind every hotel door I pass, and I never ever open one that has the sign on it. Because now I know the truth. Some guests don't want to be disturbed. And some, they're not guests at all. We always thought room 11 was just unlucky. Not haunted, not cursed, and just one of those rooms where things felt off. Weird hum in the vents. Lights flickered more than usual. Sheets wrinkled when no one touched them. It's a 12-room roadside motel in Missouri, just off an old highway barely anyone uses anymore. I've worked the front desk here 5 nights a week for the past 3 years. Nothing exciting. Mostly truckers, traveling nurses, and sad-looking couples pretending they're not cheating on someone. I used to be able to tell, within 5 minutes, which guests were fine and which ones were going to cause problems, but I didn't see this one coming. His name was Raymond Holbrook. He checked in on a Monday, mid-February, raining hard that night. He looked like any other traveler. Early 60s, neat gray hair, khakis, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. Quiet, polite. Asked for whatever room was most private. I gave him room 11. I remember saying something dumb like, "You'll have the corner to yourself. No neighbors on either side." He nodded. Barely looked me in the eye. Paid cash for a 2-week stay. Signed the guest book in this careful, slanted handwriting. Raymond Holbrook. 2:10 p.m. Room 11. I didn't think about him again for 2 days until the cleaning staff told me they hadn't seen him. "Maybe he went out," I said. They shook their heads. "The bed's been used. Lights are always on. TV's on at full volume, but no one answers. When I went to check, I knocked. No response, but I heard it, the creaking of a chair. A shuffle. TV murmuring behind the door, still no voice. No footsteps. Just that presence. I let it go. People want privacy. Maybe he was sick. Maybe he didn't want to be disturbed. I left it until day 7. It was storming again. Wind pushing the old motel signs hard. Thunder shaking the windows. I was closing up early when I noticed something strange. The exact same signature in the guest book. Same name. Same handwriting. Same time, Raymond Holbrook. Troysium room 11, but no one had checked in that day. I was working. I would have remembered. I checked the logs. He was already in the system, but now he was in again. I flipped back through old entries, and I mean years back. Dozens of guest books stored behind the counter. I found the name 5 more times. Same signature. Always room 11, always 3:17 p.m. First entry 2009. Next 2012, then 2015, each time years apart. Each time, same man. And I swear to God, he never looked older. I asked my boss about it the next morning. Maria. She's owned the place for 20 plus years. Keeps everything running herself. She got real quiet when I showed her the entries, then she said, "That room brings him back." I thought she was joking. "Or tired, what do you mean?" I asked. Maria looked at the floor. "He checked in once back when my husband was still alive. Then he never left. But the room, it's like it keeps replaying him." "You mean he died in there?" She nodded. "Heart attack, we think, alone, no ID. Cops ruled it natural causes. We buried him local. But a week later, someone showed up with the same name, same face, same duffel bag, checked in, cash. No way, I know how it sounds. But it's always the same. Always room 11, always 3:17 p.m. He stays for about 2 weeks, then disappears. No checkout. Sheets used, lights on, TV volume full blast. Why not shut the room down?" Maria looked up. I tried. But every time we lock it, the key's back in the drawer the next day. Guestbook has his name again. Room opens like it was never closed. I didn't believe her. I thought maybe she was losing it. Stress. Loneliness. But the next day, I watched it happen myself. 17 p.m. Exactly. I heard the bell above the office door. There he was. Raymond, same khakis, same duffel, same polite nod. "Room 11, please," he said. I stared. Frozen. "You've stayed here before," I said. Voice shaking, he smiled, polite, blank him, and said, "No, I don't think so." I gave him the key because I didn't know what else to do. For the next week, I watched him. He never left the room, never ordered food, never asked for towels, but lights were always on. TV loud. Chair creaking just after midnight. The cleaning staff refused to go near it. Maria stopped talking about it, but I couldn't let it go. So one night, I did something stupid. I waited until 3:00 a.m. Then I used the master key and opened the door to room 11. At first, I thought the room was empty. The bed was made. Lights off. TV dark, but I could hear it. That creaking chair. Soft, repetitive. I stepped inside. The air was cold. Not AC cold, like winter had crawled through the floorboards. There was a shape in the corner. A man in a chair, facing the wall. I whispered, "Raymond?" He didn't move, but the TV flicked on by itself, showing security footage of the front desk. From earlier that day, me, handing him the key, him, walking away, then the same clip again and again, "Raymond?" Still didn't move. I reached for the light, but the bulb popped, a loud crack that made me jump back. Glass rained down, then Raymond stood up. I didn't see him move. He was just suddenly upright, back still too. Me, he turned halfway, just enough for me to see the corner of his mouth. He was smiling, not wide, just enough to make my skin crawl. Then he spoke. "You keep bringing me back." I ran. Don't remember slamming the door, just the sprint. To the front desk, my lungs burning, my hands shaking. The next day, room 11 was vacant, lights off. Clean bed, no trace of him. But at exactly 3:17 p.m., he walked in again. Same nod. Same voice. "Room 11, please." Maria quit that night. Left a handwritten note. "You can't break the loop." I tried. The room always wins. I've stayed, I don't know why. Maybe I want answers. Maybe I'm afraid if I leave, I'll end up back here anyway. Like him. Because lately, I've been dreaming in that room. Even when I sleep at home, I see the bed, the chair, the shape in the corner. Sometimes the man turns all the way around and the face staring back at me is mine. I've stayed in a lot of motels over the years. Comes with the job. Long-haul trucking. You learn to live in parking lots, eat gas station food, sleep 5 hours at a time with your boots still on. You also learn which places feel wrong the second you walk in. There are motels that smell like mold, ones with bloodstains under the mattress. One time I found a baby monitor duct taped under the bathroom sink. That's a whole other story. But nothing, and I mean nothing, has ever gotten under my skin like that night in the desert. The night I turned on Channel 3. I was halfway through a 3-day haul from Texas to Northern California. My dispatcher booked me a room at a place called Desert Willow Inn, one of those out-of-the-way spots that doesn't even show up on GPS unless you already know it exists. It was just past midnight when I pulled in. Desert air, dry and cold. Crickets chirping somewhere out of view, one fluorescent light flickering above the lobby. No one at the front desk, just a bell and a sticky note. Press buzzer for night service. A minute later, a guy shuffled out. Late 50s, maybe. Balding, heavy eyes, wearing slippers and a bathrobe. Barely looked at me. Name? He muttered, Jake Winters. Room should be under the company card. He slid over a key without checking anything. Room 14, that was it. No ID, no signature. Just a key. Room 14 was at the far end of the lot, near a half-dead cactus and a broken vending machine. The air smelled like dust and old metal. The room was exactly what I expected. Beige walls, stiff bed, yellow bathroom tiles. One lamp, one ancient CRT TV on the dresser. A little sign on the nightstand said, Channels 212 only. Do not adjust input. I dumped my bag, kicked off my boots, and collapsed onto the bed. The hum of the AC unit filled the silence. I turned on the TV just for background noise. Channel 2, static. Channel 3, static. Channel 4, local news in Spanish. Channel 5, static. Channel 6, an old sitcom rerun. Channel 7, more static. I went back to Channel 3, for some reason, and I froze. It wasn't just static. Not exactly. The screen flickered in that snowstorm way. But underneath, there was movement, like a shadow passing across a light. I squinted. It almost looked like a room dimly lit, a bed, a nightstand, a figure lying down. My stomach flipped. It was my room. Room 14. I stood up slowly and looked around. Same lamp, same chair, same bedspread pattern. I turned to the mirror on the wall, just my reflection. I looked back at the screen. The figure on the bed was still lying still, not moving. Then slowly, it turned its head toward the camera, toward me. I stepped back. No one else was in the room. I grabbed the remote and changed the channel. Click, Channel 4, News. Click, Channel 5, Static. Click, Channel 6, Commercials. Click, and Channel 3. The figure was sitting up, now facing the camera, facing me. But when I turned around, the bed was still empty. I walked to the TV, put my hand on the screen. It buzzed faintly, warm, old school, static feel. I traced my fingers across it and watched as the figure on the screen mirrored my motion, but from the other side of the bed, like it was copying me in reverse. I bent down, looked close. Its face was blurry. No details, just wrong, like it hadn't decided what face to wear yet. I turned off the TV. The screen went black. I sat on the edge of the bed, breathing heavy. It was probably just an old security system glitch, I told myself. A feed left connected by accident. But then I noticed something I hadn't before. There was no camera in the room, no smoke detector lens, no peephole in the TV. I checked the vents, the ceiling, behind the lamp. Nothing. Whatever Channel 3 was showing me. It wasn't coming from a camera. It was coming from somewhere else. I tried calling the front desk. No dial tone. Tried my cell. No signal. I considered just leaving, grabbing my keys and driving off. But I'd been up 16 hours straight. Couldn't risk falling asleep behind the wheel, so I turned the TV back on, Channel 3 again. This time, the figure was standing at the window, the same window that was 6 feet to my left and the curtain in the reflection. It was open. I turned my head. The curtain was closed, but on the screen I could see something moving outside. A shifting shadow slowly pressing up against the glass. I stood, inched toward the window, hand trembling. I pulled back the curtain, nothing, just darkness and gravel and my truck parked outside. I looked back at the screen. The figure was gone, but the camera feed was still. Running empty room, same angle. Then a new figure walked in, different shape. Taller, leaner, more aware. It walked to the bed, looked into the camera, and pointed right. At me, I unplugged the TV black screen, stared at the cord in my hand for a second. Then I walked into the bathroom, turned on the light, looked in the mirror and behind me. In the reflection, the TV was still on. I turned. The TV was dark, but the reflection, it showed the snowy static. Channel 3, I turned back to the mirror. The reflection changed. It was now showing me asleep in bed, even though I was standing, wide awake. Then a second figure appeared behind me on the screen, watching, waiting. I left. Didn't even grab my bag. I ran to the front office, banging on the glass. Lights off. No answer. I walked behind the desk. No one there. Just a little black and white monitor showing every room's live feed. But Channel 3 wasn't one of them. I got in my truck and drove. Didn't care where. Just wanted miles between me and that room. Pulled over at a diner 3 towns over. Hands still shaking. The waitress poured me coffee and said I looked like hell. I told her I came from Desert Willow Inn. She went pale. "You stayed in room 14?" she asked. "Yeah." She nodded slowly. "My brother used to clean that room. Said Channel 3 didn't show TV, it showed people before they died." I tried to laugh it off, I really did. But now, 2 weeks later, I'm still seeing things. I turned on the TV at my apartment last night. No cable, no antenna, just fuzz. Channel 3 was showing a room I'd never seen before. A bed, a nightstand, a person sleeping, then the person rolled over, and it was me. I've been a motel housekeeper for almost 11 years. It's not a glamorous job, or a safe one. People think the worst part is the mess, and sometimes it is. You'd be shocked at the things people leave behind. But the part no one tells you about? The silence. How quiet it gets when you're pushing that cart alone past row after row of locked doors. You start to notice the little things, like which rooms always smell wrong, which guests never say thank you, which lights never stop flickering, and eventually, you start to feel like the building itself is watching you. That's how I felt the day I started noticing the cart moving on its own. I worked at the Lone Star Lodge, just outside Waco. Old place. Brown carpet, gray brick exterior, half the neon on the sign busted. We had 20 rooms, all ground level, and 1 2-room suite in the back that no one really used. I cleaned on rotation with 2 other girls, Maria and Chelsea. But after COVID, staffing got thin, and I ended up with the full load most mornings. I didn't complain. I needed the money. But something changed about 6 months ago. It started with room 7. Room 7 was always weird. No matter how many times I cleaned it, it never felt finished. Like something was off balance. The air was colder. The towels would be half folded when I walked in, even if no one had been in the room for days. But the day I found the towel with the blood on it, it went from weird to wrong. It was rolled up, like spa style. Sitting perfectly on the shelf, I unrolled it, and inside, right in the middle, was a small handprint. Child-sized, deep red. Not smeared, just stamped. Like it had been folded around the stain. I dropped it. Reported it, of course. Told management. They sent a guy to check the room for signs of entry. Nothing. The guest had already checked out. Paid in cash. No ID on file. They let me clock out early that day. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. The next week, the cleaning cart moved. I left it outside room 12, went in to strip the bed. When I came out, it was 2 doors down, no wind. No incline. No one in sight. I pushed it back. But by the time I came out of room 13, it was gone again. This time, parked outside room 7, I hadn't touched 7 that morning. It wasn't even on my list. No checkouts. Nothing scheduled. I stood there staring at the cart. It was exactly how I left it. Mop on the side, 2 rolls of TP in the top tray. Mini shampoo bottles stacked in the caddy. But something inside me dropped. Like my brain was telling me, don't open that door. I didn't. Not that day. But I should have. Because the next time I opened room 7, the towels were already folded. Not someone else did my job folded. Not this was cleaned before you got here. They were folded the way I fold them, tight tri-creased rolls. Corners tucked in the way I do when my anxiety flares. I know what my own work looks like, and whatever, did that. had been watching me. I started testing it. I left one towel slightly crooked on purpose. Came back 10 minutes later. Fixed. I wrote a little X in pencil behind the toilet paper roll. Came back, erased. Then one morning, I walked into the room and saw my own name written in the fog on the bathroom mirror. Just AIM-Y. Nothing else. The room had been empty for a week. I stopped cleaning room 7 after that. Told the manager. I had a sensitivity to the cleaner in there. Made up a story about rashes. They moved it off my rotation. I thought it'd help. And for a while it did. Until the cart started following me. It wasn't a ghost cart. No spooky wheels turning by themselves. It was always in the right spot, technically, but it kept ending up where I was going next, even when I hadn't told anyone my order. I'd be heading to room 10, and boom, the cart was already there. I'd loop around the building to room 3, and there it was, parked perfectly, waiting. One day, I turned the corner and nearly screamed. The cart was there, but the top tray was different. It was full of bloody towels, neatly folded, stacked, and right on top in the same size. Handprint from before, same shape, same color, same pressure. I backed away, ran to the office, dragged the manager out. When we got there, clean, nothing on the towels, no blood, no handprint. He looked at me like I was losing it. Maybe I was. I started having dreams. Not nightmares. Exactly. Just this weird half-real loop where I was pushing the cart down the hallway. And every time I looked down, the contents changed. One time, it was keys, hundreds of motel keycards. Another time, it was wedding rings and mismatched, scratched, some with dried blood on them. Once, it was just a pile of motel receipts, all signed Amy. Then, the rooms started changing. Room. Or had the exact same stain pattern on the eye. Bed 2 days in a row, even after I replaced all the linens. Room. 11's mirror reflected the hallway, not the room. Room 2's guest said they kept hearing the cart roll by their door every 20 minutes. All night, except I'd gone home at 4 p.m. No one should have been pushing anything. One afternoon, I found a second cart parked behind the laundry room, identical, down to the missing wheel cap. But when I asked the other girls, they swore we only had one. I asked the manager. He said the same. So I left it alone. Next morning, only one cart again. I got bold eventually. Took my phone into room 7, set it to record, locked the door. Left it recording on the dresser. Came back 30 minutes later. The phone was off. Battery dead. Even though it had been at 80%. I charged it. Opened the video. Just static. Like old TV snow. But the last 3 seconds, they played a single shot. Me standing. In the corner of the room. Facing the wall. Not moving. Didn't remember that. Didn't remember ever turning the camera toward myself. Didn't remember standing in that corner. But I've seen that posture before. That angle. It's how I found that guest in room 19. Last summer, standing silent back to the door. Not responding, we had to call EMTs. He didn't remember how he got there. Either. Said the last thing he remembered was checking the mirror. Yesterday, I opened the closet in room 7. We were supposed to be remodeling it. A contractor was coming to repaint. Inside the closet was a piece of cardboard, taped to the wall. Behind it, a hole about fist-sized, looking directly into the bathroom. Someone had been watching, and scratched into the wood beneath it were 3 words. She cleans well. I haven't gone back, I didn't quit. But I'm out on stress leave. They offered me therapy. They said I was overworked, but I know the truth. That motel watches us. And the cart? It's not a tool, it's a companion. It follows the cleaners, learns from them, and eventually, it replaces them. You've probably heard the story. If you ever pass a blue-painted motel after midnight, don't look in the windows. I used to think it was one of those dumb urban legends people passed around campfires, like the one about the woman with the ribbon around her neck or the killer hiding in the back seat. But I've seen it. We all did. And only I came back. It started 2 summers ago. We were road tripping across the state. Me, my best friend Lex, and our friends Cam and Jordan. We'd just graduated high school. It was supposed to be one last dumb freedom run before life got serious. We had no plans. Just a full tank, a bag of snacks, and Lex's beat-up Subaru. The plan was to drive west, stop when we were tired, crash in cheap motels, then keep going. We were somewhere outside Tulsa when it started, late midnight, maybe 1 a.m. I remember Lex's eyes drifting at the wheel, headlights sweeping through fog as we coasted around a bend. That's when we saw it. A motel, completely painted blue. Not just the walls, the roof, the doors, the trim. Even the damn sign. Just one word, glowing white against a deep indigo background, vacancy. Cam sat up in the back. That's gotta be a theme or something, right? Jordan nodded. Oh, that's kinda sick. Lex pulled into the lot without saying anything. No other cars, no highway noise, just stillness. And that weirdly blue paint like it had just been brushed on an hour ago and hadn't dried. I told them I didn't like it. Couldn't explain why, it just felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Lex laughed it off. We're exhausted. It's either this or sleep in the car. The lobby was empty. No staff, just a desk, a bell, and a faint smell of lavender and something rotting underneath it. Jordan rang the bell once. No answer. Then from nowhere a man appeared. I mean literally from nowhere. 1 second the desk was empty, next second he was there. Old, pale, clean-shaven, with the bluest eyes I've ever seen. Lex flinched. Whoa, sorry, didn't see you. He didn't say anything. Just slid over 4 keys. Room 3, 4, 5. So identical. Then he said one thing. Voice flat. No accent. Don't look in the windows. We laughed about it at first. Made dumb jokes. Lex called it Motel Blue Ball. Cam said, bet there's orgies in there or something. But I didn't laugh because something in the man's voice. It didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a test. I got room 3, it was the one closest to the road. The room itself, surprisingly normal. White sheets. TV bolted to the dresser. A tiny fridge humming like a dying bee. But the window. That window was wrong. It had no curtain, just glass facing the lot. And when I stood in front of it, I couldn't see my reflection. Not at all. Just the room. But empty. I thought maybe it was tinted. I waved my hand. Nothing. I checked the angle. Still nothing. Then I looked harder, leaned closer, and realized the reflection wasn't a reflection. It was a feed. A live one. Of room 3. But not my room 3. Because in that version of the room, the bed was already occupied. Someone was lying on it. Perfectly still. Hands folded across their chest. Eyes wide open. I jumped back so hard I knocked over the lamp. Ran to the door. Threw it open, Lex, Cam, and Jordan were all standing outside their rooms. Frozen. Looking at their own windows. None of them spoke. Then Lex whispered, I just saw myself sleeping. We gathered in the parking lot. Argued for 10 minutes about what to do. Jordan wanted to leave immediately. Said he didn't care if he was tired, he'd drive. Cam was pale and shaking. Kept saying there was something else in my room. In the corner. Watching. Lex looked back at the motel. All the rooms are still dark, she said. But the windows are glowing, look. She was right, each window now glowed faintly blue. Even though no lights were on inside. And there were silhouettes behind the glass. Not ours. We got in the car and left. No debate. I remember Lex fumbling the keys. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. We pulled out fast, and the minute we hit the road, something strange happened. It got daylight, instantly, like someone flipped a switch. The sun was up. Birds were singing. My phone buzzed 8:12 a.m. Lex pulled over. We looked back. The motel. Gone just empty fields. We tried to talk about it, but the more we did, the less we could agree on. Cam said the man at the desk had black eyes. Lex swore the window in her room didn't exist at all. Jordan said he saw us, the 4 of us, already lying in the beds, like we'd never left, and me. I remembered the reflection of myself smiling at me. Even though I wasn't smiling, I checked my phone footage. Nothing there, like the night never happened. We kept driving, didn't sleep that night, didn't stop again for 2 days, but it didn't matter. Because Jordan vanished a week later. He was staying at his girlfriend's place. told her he needed some air, went outside around midnight. She found the front door wide open, his keys on the steps, and muddy blue footprints leading away into the street. They never found him. A month later, Cam went missing too. Left a voicemail on my phone I'll never delete. All he said was, "I looked in the window again. I saw all of us still there. I think we never left. I think we left copies behind. But they're stronger now." Lex and I held on for a while, tried therapy, tried road tripping again, just to reclaim the memory. But she got worse. Wouldn't sleep near mirrors. Wouldn't stay in any building with more than one window. She started painting things blue. Her walls. Her closet door. Her bed. She said it was to keep them away. Then, 6 months ago, she called me sobbing, said she was starting to forget which life was real, that she couldn't tell if she was in her version of the world anymore, or the motels. Then I found a note on my doorstep, written in her handwriting. It just said, "Don't look in the windows. Don't trust the ones who do." Lex was never seen again. I live alone now. No windows in my place. Just sealed glass, boarded up. I sleep on the floor. No mirrors, but sometimes at night, I still see that blue glow through the cracks in the wall, and I hear a knock and I hear my own voice whispering, "You left me behind." It's been almost a year since we saw the Blue Motel, but it's not done with me, and I don't think it ever will be. After Lex disappeared, I tried to forget. I threw myself into work, moved cities, changed numbers, got rid of anything that reminded me of that night. But something strange kept happening. People started calling me the wrong name. It started small. A coffee order marked Lex, a package addressed to Cam Jordan. Once a cashier smiled and said, "You were in here earlier, welcome back." But I hadn't been. Then my boss emailed me asking where I'd been the past 2 days. I'd been working. Same hours, same desk. I pulled up my timesheet. It was blank. I thought I was losing it until I passed a rest stop off Route 17 and saw a single building glowing faintly in the trees. Blue. No sign, no windows, just one door, and I swear I heard my voice whisper from the woods, "Come home." I didn't stop, but it's following me now. I see reflections that don't match. Mine smiles before I do. I walk into rooms and forget how I got there. Wake up with blue dust on my shoes and the dreams. God, the dreams. In the dreams, I'm back in room 3, but it's not me in the bed. It's the version of me that never left. The copy I left behind. And it's getting stronger. Sometimes, I wake up gasping and swear I'm lying on the motel bed, not my own. Sometimes, I hear other versions of my friends, Lex, Cam, Jordan, laughing from inside the walls, and sometimes, I wake up with the keys in my hand, the same motel keys. Room 3, room 4, room 5, room 6. I went back to the location a month ago. The field is still there, no building, but the grass grows in a perfect rectangle, a darker patch, like something huge had been sitting there, and got up. I asked around. No one remembers the motel, not even the gas station down the road. But when I showed the guy at the register one of the old room keys I'd somehow kept, he froze, said nothing, then slid a piece of paper across the counter. No words, just one sentence written in jagged black pen. "They remember you too. It's been getting worse. I'll pass by a mirror and see multiple versions of me layered over each other. Some smiling, some still, one that never blinks. Sometimes I hear their voices. They finish my thoughts, whisper inside jokes from memories that aren't mine. They know me. They remember what I've done, that I looked, that I left them there, and they want out." Last week, I found a motel key under my pillow. Room 3, the tag was wet, cold, smelled faintly of lavender and rot. I threw it out the window. It was back the next morning. I think I've figured it out now. The Blue Motel isn't just a place, it's a copy machine. It takes the people who look and splits them. One version leaves, keeps living, the other stays. But the longer you live, the more those versions try to switch places, until you don't know which side of the glass you're on anymore. I used to tell myself I was the one who made it out. Now I'm not so sure. Because this morning I opened the closet in my apartment and found 4 blue motel keys, room 3, room 4, room 5, room 6, and scribbled on the wall in my own handwriting, "We're all still there. You're just the last to realize it." You ever stay somewhere so nice it feels wrong? Like everything's perfect on the outside, but your body knows something underneath is rotting? That's what the motel was like. Too clean, too quiet, too welcoming. And I should have left the moment I smelled sulfur coming through the vents. I was 5 hours into a road trip detour when my GPS glitched out completely. Tried to reroute, failed, then just froze. By then it was dark. I hadn't seen another car in almost an hour. That's when I saw the sign. The Hollow, luxury off-grid stays, all-inclusive. It was tucked behind trees off a narrow shoulder road. I figured it was one of those eco-motel retreats, overpriced wood cabins and nature trails. But when I pulled up, it was stunning. Sleek black wood siding, string lights in the trees, a glass lobby that glowed like a spaceship. Every window reflected stars. And I swear, the moment I stepped out of the car, it was like the air shifted. The concierge greeted me before I even rang the bell. Her name was Dahlia. Hair like polished silver, eyes too sharp to look away from. "We've been expecting you," she said. I blinked. I didn't make a reservation," she smiled. "We don't require them. Room 16 is ready." I hesitated, but something in me, tired, lonely, maybe stupid, said yes. She handed me a black keycard with no numbers, just a gold symbol etched into it, a spiral inside a square. Room 16 was at the far end of the property. Minimalist and beautiful, charcoal walls, soft lights, rainfall shower. King bed with white linen sheets that practically glowed. No mirrors, no clocks, no light switches. "The room adjusted to your rhythm," Dahlia said. I asked about Wi-Fi. She smiled. "You won't need it." The sulfur smell started on the second night, faint at first. Just a hint, and like burnt matches or overcooked eggs. I thought it was coming from the shower. But the third night, it came through the vents, heavy, tangible, thick in the air, like it was alive. I opened the window, nothing but still trees. No breeze, no bugs, and the stars overhead were wrong, too many, and too still. I went to the front desk. The glass lobby was dark. No one inside. Just a low white noise hum, like 1,000 televisions muted behind a wall. I knocked. No answer. Tried the bell. It rang. Once. Then the lights blinked off, and for a split second, I thought I saw something behind the front desk, tall, shifting, watching. I backed away. Fast. Back in the room. My suitcase was moved, just a few inches. But I knew where I'd left it. I checked the drawers. Everything was rearranged, too. Perfectly symmetrical. Even the socks, the sulfur smell was stronger now. It clung to my skin, to the sheets, to my breath. Tried to leave the next morning. Car keys. Gone phone? Still no signal. Not even a low battery symbol. I knocked on the room next door. No. Answer another. Nothing. I looked in one window and saw the room was empty, untouched. The bed still made, but the TV was on, and it was showing. Me sitting on my bed, breathing. Still. Walked back fast, opened my room. Everything looked the same, except the walls were darker, slick, shimmering, like something beneath the paint was moving. I touched one. It was warm. I stumbled back, the lights flickered, and the spiral symbol on my keycard, now glowing, faintly red, began to pulse, slow and steady, like a heartbeat. I finally found another guest. She was sitting by the outdoor, pool-perfect posture, red lipstick. Staring into the water, I called out to her. She didn't move. I got closer. Her eyes were open but glassy. She whispered, "You breathe their air long enough, and it keeps you." I asked what she meant. She looked at me and said, "You already checked out. You just haven't stopped moving yet." I ran back to my room. The door wouldn't open. The keycard had dissolved. Nothing but ash in my hand. I went back to the lobby. Lights gone. Glass cracked. Dahlia was standing at the desk, still smiling, still perfect, but her hands were backwards, palms rotated completely wrong. She said, "Guests don't leave the hollow. They settle." I passed out on the gravel outside. Room 16 woke up in my car, engine off. Key in the ignition. GPS back on I-503. And like nothing happened, like I dreamed it all, except my suitcase was still rearranged and my shoes smelled like sulfur. I tried to find the place. Again, nothing on Google, no maps, no coordinates. Locals never heard of it. Even the gas station 2 miles from where I turned off said the road had been closed for a decade. But last week, a package showed up at my apartment. No return address. Inside, a black keycard and a note. One sentence, handwritten in neat block letters. Room 17 is now ready. I didn't open the package at first. The black keycard, the handwritten note. Room 17 is now ready. I left it sitting on the counter for hours. Kept walking past it like it might disappear if I ignored it long enough. But it didn't. By nightfall, my apartment smelled like burnt matches again, like sulfur. That smell hasn't left since I got back. It's in my closet, my hair, my mouth. When I wake up, I've scrubbed every surface. Washed my clothes 5 times. Changed sheets. Burned incense, doesn't matter. The scent returns and it's getting stronger. I tried sleeping in hotels, different cities, different beds, but no matter where I go, I wake up with the same view. A sleek black wall, no clocks, no mirrors, no door handle, just the faint hum of something breathing through the vents. And the bedsheet tag? Always the same. The hollow. The keycard from the package. It's warm now. Like it's waiting to be used, like it knows I'll come back. I threw it in the trash. The next morning, it was sitting on my nightstand. I called the only person I could think of. My ex, Dylan. He always thought I was too superstitious, too paranoid. But when I told him what happened, he didn't laugh. He just said, "I think you've been marked." Then he said something I still can't forget. Places like that don't need roads. They need memory. If it found you once, it'll find you again. I went to a sleep clinic, did 2 nights of monitored rest. They said my brainwave activity was unstable, that I dropped into REM immediately and stayed there longer than average. They asked if I had any history of trauma or chemical exposure. I told them no. They showed me a brain. Scanned pointed to a strange cluster and a place in my brain, they said, lit up like a city skyline during the tier night. They didn't know what to make of it, but I did. That's where the hollow lives now. Sometimes I black out during the day, not from exhaustion, just time skips. I'll blink, and suddenly I'm standing in my hallway. Keys in my hand, facing the door like I was about to leave, only I never remember deciding to go. And night I woke up in my car, parked in front of a hotel that doesn't exist on any map. It wasn't blue, wasn't even named, but I knew what it was. Room 17 was waiting. I didn't go inside. But when I looked through the car window, I saw myself standing at the check-in counter, talking to Dahlia, smiling like I'd been there all along. I tried burning the keycard, wouldn't catch, not even a scorch. Mark tried snapping it in half and it bent like rubber. Dropped it off a bridge. That night, I woke up with it tucked under my pillow. It smelled like rain and smoke and something older. I think I understand now. The hollow isn't a motel, not really. It's a filter. Place where certain people go to be sorted. Some get kept, some get let go, and the ones let go, we're not whole anymore. We're copies, ghost versions of ourselves sent back into the world, used until we start to break down, until we're called home. I've started hearing whispers again, through my vents, in my phone, even when it's off. Sometimes they sound like Dahlia, other times they sound like me, begging to come back, begging to stay. I haven't left my apartment in 4 days. Every time I touch the doorknob, I get dizzy, feel like gravity shifts, like I'll step out and be on that gravel path again, the one leading up to the black glass lobby. Sometimes I see flashes of it behind my eyelids. That impossible hallway behind the front desk, always stretching, never ending, and rooms on both sides, dozens of them, hundreds, each one breathing, each one watching. The hollow is calling me back. Not in some vague destiny way, I mean literally through the walls, through my dreams, through the keycard I keep finding in my coat pocket. And I think this time, if I go back, I won't be coming out again. I've packed a bag, not sure why. It's not like clothes or snacks matter there. I won't need a phone, won't need a map. Just one thing, the keycard. Room 17. Dahlia said the Hollow doesn't need reservations, but I think this one's personal. I think this room was made for me. If you're reading this, and you've ever smelled sulfur where it doesn't belong, if you've ever woken up in the wrong place or dreamed of a hotel you can't find again, you were probably chosen too. And you'll understand what I mean when I say, some rooms don't let go. They just wait for the right version of you to walk back in.